Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is SportsIQ with Larry Smith.
We made it to Hump Day. SportsIQ, Larry Smith, glad you're with us here on the show. We've got a couple of great guests coming up here. Kellis Robinett joining us, talk about K-State football. Also, Jordan Foote in a bit, talking Kansas City Chiefs as we get ready for college football and the NFL season as well. Lots to talk about. So some NFL news coming up. A big night last night in the WNBA. And what could Friday night hold on the hardwood as well? Lots of stories here. And Rory McIlroy cleaning out the gift shop at Augusta National. Lots to talk about. So we'll get to all that. Let's get to a couple of headlines really quickly before we get to our first guest. The Cubs coming through big time at Wrigley on Tuesday. They sweep the doubleheader over the Brewers 6-4 and then 4-1. Willie Castro, the 3-run homer in the first game, and then later Jamison Talon with giving up 5 hits and 6 innings pitched to get his first win in more than a month. The Cubs now, I made a mistake yesterday. I said they were 8 games back. They were actually 9 after that. They get 2 back. They're now 7 games behind the Brewers. Milwaukee, by the way, their road record, even after losing these 2 games, still for the season is 37-27. That is better than 17 teams' home record this season. How impressive is that? Yankees over Tampa Bay 13-3. Aaron Judge, his 40th home run. 4th time he's hit 40 or more in his career. Yankees, 9 big flies and all. That ties a team record as they beat the Rays at their own spring training stadium there in Tampa. George Steinbrenner Field seats about 10,000 down there. By the way, the Yankees become the first team in Major League Baseball history to hit back-to-back home runs in the first inning 3 times in the same season. Crazy what they're doing. They weren't even in the Bronx yesterday. Toronto over the Pirates 7-3. Max Scherzer getting career win number 720. George Springer hit a 2-run homer as the Jays built a 5-0 lead. Pirates have now dropped 8 of their last 10. Detroit over Houston in a real pitcher's duel. 1-0 in the 10th. The only run scoring on a bases-loaded walk in the bottom of the 10th. Gleyber Torres drawing it. Detroit's Tariq Skubal striking out 10 in 7 innings. He becomes the first in Major League Baseball to get to 200 strikeouts. Meanwhile, Kansas City over Texas 5-2. Bobby Witt Jr. with the 2-run homer. That was his 100th of his career. At 25 years and 66 days old, he becomes the youngest in Royals franchise history to hit 100 homers. Hey, Royals have now won 5 in a row. Mets beat Washington. The Phils over the M's. Kyle Schwarber with his 44th home run. So the Phillies still 5.5 games up. Schwarber hits his 44th. Shohei Ohtani also hits his 44th to keep pace as the Dodgers club the Rockies in Colorado 11-4 the final. LA 18 hits at Coors Field in this one. Okay, much more to come. Right now, producer Tony has our first guest.
Well, thanks so much, Larry. And we are going to dive a little deeper in today into one of the first real big games of the college football season, probably the first real big game of the college football season. Kansas State, Iowa State, over in Dublin. Man, you can't complain about the location of the game. We're joined now by Kellis Robinett. He is the Kansas State beat writer for both the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. Kellis, thank you so much for taking time out to join the show.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about, first, let's tell us about a little about the trip. Headed to Ireland. You're already there because this is Wednesday. Are you there? Are you having a good time?
Wednesday, my plane lands at 9:45 a.m. Long flight. Left Manhattan at noon on Tuesday. So, long experience to get over there. But I'm sure it'll be worth it. The Kansas State team flies out Wednesday night. They get in Thursday morning. I believe Iowa State's doing the same deal, just not leaving from Kansas City. But at least whereas I get to do a little rest after I get off the plane, Kansas State's heading straight to the practice field and getting after it. So a little different there.
I'm sure you've talked to the coaching staff already. How hard do they think it's going to be getting the guys acclimated to the time change, to being over there? Because that's about a 6-7 hour difference between where you guys are in Kansas to over there in Dublin.
Yeah, they're 6 hours ahead. It is a big difference. And Kansas State and Iowa State have spent a lot of time researching exactly the best way to prepare for this game. There's really no right or wrong answer to it. Historically, teams that have gone over and played in this game haven't really gone on to have the best season. Notre Dame had one 10-win campaign, but otherwise, there's only been one other team, and it was Georgia Tech last year that even finished with a winning record. So you got to figure out the right way to, not only go over there and get right for this game, but then return to the States and play 11 more as the season goes on. Kansas State's plan basically was, I know in the NFL when teams play in London, sometimes you see teams go over a week ahead of time and they want to, get rid of jet lag that way. Kansas State was more of the belief that, well, let's take an overnight flight to Ireland, try to get as much sleep as we can on the plane, and then, adjust our sleep schedule as we go. Like I said, Iowa State's doing the same thing. So I guess really neither team can at the end of the day sit there and say one team had a better strategy than the other, but there's still certainly a lot that goes into it. I've heard of the coaches bringing in sleep trainers to try to help them get rest on the plane. Players are telling me yesterday they've got like blood stimulants that they're gonna like put on their legs to help blood flow throughout the flight. They're taking it as seriously as I think they can. And it's compared to like me when I'm on flight, as long as I got my iPad, some stuff to watch, I'm good. I'm not thinking about blood flow and how my body's going to feel when I get off the plane. So it's just a little different.
So let's talk about the Kansas State team a little bit here. Let's start out with the offense. Obviously, it's going to revolve around Avery Johnson. Do you expect to see him, from what you've seen in practices so far, is he ready to take that next level step up for the Wildcats?
Well, that's the question. That's kind of the $1 million question for this team. Avery Johnson has been good the past 2 years. I would say he's been short of great. If he can make that leap up to the next level, then Kansas State can, potentially break through and have a really good season here. Last season, there wasn't a ton to complain about with him. He threw for almost 3,000 yards, set a school record in touchdown passes with 25. But he did throw 10 interceptions, made some critical mistakes in games, and really let things slip away. They started the first half of the season were really good, faded down the stretch, ended 8-4, had to win the Rate Bowl to get to 9 wins. So really the thing for him is just, can he take care of the ball a little bit better, make better decisions? Can he get out in space and make a few people miss when he does use his legs? We didn't see a ton of that last season. If he can do that, then yeah, Kansas State can take the next step here.
We've seen some explosive plays in the past from Dylan Edwards from his time, not only at Colorado, but also at K-State. Can he be the running back that'll get this team going? He's a little small side, but you've got some balance on there with a bigger player to kind of help him out. What does the running game look like for K-State this season?
Yeah, it'll be different without DJ Giddens back there. He's toted the ball pretty much all by himself the last 2 seasons. He's off in the NFL now, but before him was Deuce Vaughn, who was also a smaller back, just like Dylan Edwards. Long before him, Darren Sproles had a lot of success at Kansas State, and he was even smaller than all those guys. So if you're a short running back, Manhattan's really the place for you to go. Dylan Edwards, he's a little bit taller than those guys, but I don't think they're going to miss a beat. He's showed what he could do last year in the Rate Bowl, going over 200 total yards, scoring a couple touchdowns. I think he's ready to be, right there next to Avery as a focal point in this offense. He's a home run hitter. If you get it to him in space, he's a threat to take it the distance every play. Doesn't mean he's going to, but when he did touch the ball last season, he averaged more than 7 yards per rush. That's really good. You would think if he gets more volume, then the numbers are going to keep going up. His challenge will just be, can he continue to be that consistent when he's getting the ball, 2 or 3 times every rotation, as opposed to just here and there. But yes, Kansas State, they've got a good offensive line. They've got good running backs. I think they'll be fine in the running game.
They kind of reloaded that offensive line in the portal, didn't they? Wasn't that part of the pickup? Have they been real active in the portal at K-State the last couple of years?
They have, and offensive line, honestly, it should be even more portal heavy than it is right now. But J.B. Nelson is a Penn State transfer. He's going to start on the offensive line. Terrence Enos is from Pittsburgh. He's going to start on the offensive line. And George Fitzpatrick was slated to start on the offensive line, a transfer from Ohio State, but he's had a medical situation preseason. So he's out right now. It's undetermined when he's going to be able to get back on the field. But really, they were looking at replacing their 3 departed starters last year with 3 transfers. And that's not usually the route they take, but they have had limited success there before with some plug-and-play guys, so they're hoping that adding an extra body there as a transfer will help out. But they've got transfers all over the place. One of the guys they're most excited about in the whole team is Jerron Tibbs, a wide receiver transfer from Purdue. And yeah, it's been interesting to see some coaches, have really embraced the portal. Some have been slow to do it. Some, want to do traditional recruiting. I think Chris Klieman has found a nice mix of we're gonna focus on recruiting and development, but every year we're also going to put a lot of money into this transfer portal. I think he's found a nice mix there.
Tell us a little bit about Klieman and his coaching staff. How would you describe his style as a coach? Is he more of the game manager type? Is he does he delegate to his subordinates? What kind of coaching style would you say he has?
I'd say he's a nice mix of old school and new school, if that makes sense. People around here were used to Bill Snyder for the longest time, and he was as old school as they come. I think when he first got here, I like to say Chris Klieman was kind of like a younger, hipper Bill Snyder. He could relate to players a little bit better, just a bit more outgoing, not quite as disciplinarian or demanding as Bill Snyder was, but still, you could tell deep down he's a defensive minded guy. He used to play safety at Northern Iowa. He certainly has some old school coaching to him. But over the years, I think what's helped him a lot is that he has learned to delegate, and especially with this transfer portal stuff. He's brought in a general manager who takes care of all the money. He's got a recruiting coordinator who has a good plan. So pretty much on that end, he just lets them take care of business, and then he swoops in and does some recruiting at the end of it. And it's much like that on when it comes to strategy and stuff. He's, like I said, he's a defensive minded coach, but he's had the same defensive assistant coaches for quite a few years now. Joe Klanderman, has been defensive coordinator going back to his second year in Manhattan. So he trusts those guys so much, he'll move over to the offensive side of things and dabble over there. That's just just a little bit of everything.
We're talking with Kellis Robinett. He is the Kansas State beat writer for both the Wichita Eagle and the Kansas City Star. Kellis, dive into the defense a little bit. They were strong last year. Can they be as good this year? They had a few games where they gave points, but then again, in the Big 12, you're talking about a conference where offense is king out there, right? You play a lot of shootout games in the Big 12.
Yeah, they do, and you kind of have to grade on a curve in that department.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Last year, Kansas State, kind of a weird stat. They outgained their opponent in all but one game, I believe. There's even one game they played BYU where they gained more yards than the Cougars, but they lost by 30 on the scoreboard. So just kind of some weird games in there. They're hoping that those are aberrations and don't happen again. But the defense is a little bit more of a mystery than the offense. They lost 3 guys to the NFL who played in the secondary last season. Marquise Siegel, Jacob Parrish, Keenan Garber. These are guys who've been their best defenders in the secondary for quite a few years, all getting replaced by new faces. And that's kind of the worrisome part heading into the season. Just like you mentioned, they're going to have to go up against guys like Rocco Becht, Josh Hoover, Noah Fatita out at Arizona, guys who can really sling the ball. And when you're trying to, replace 3 NFL guys on the back end, it's not the easiest task. So, Klanderman and Klieman every year have found ways to get by. You don't, you say, boy, I think they lost too much. It's going to be hard for these guys to replace them. They find a way. They're hoping to do it again, but that definitely is a mystery. If you're looking at like one big question mark heading into this season, pass defense is something I'm looking at.
Now they come back from Ireland after playing Iowa State, and then your next Big 12 game is on the road at Arizona. How big of a challenge do you think that one might be? Just very coming off of the trip.
Yeah, very big. Because not only is it 3 weeks after going to Ireland, it's 1 week after they play Army at home, and that's never an easy challenge. You can't look ahead to Arizona at all. You got to focus all your attention on learning the triple option, and then your body has to recover, going up against all these weird blocks, all these runs. and you have to do it when you're traveling on a short week to Arizona. I think that's going to be one of the hardest games on the schedule, even though Kansas State on paper is the better team. That is just a great spot on the schedule for Arizona. And I know people at Kansas State they know it. They know going into that their first 4 games are not going to be easy. Play Iowa State and Ireland, Arizona on the road on Friday, Army at home. And basically the answer I've gotten from these guys is when I ask how hard is that going to be, it's like, any way we can get to 4-0, we'll take it. And that's actually something that Chris Klieman has never accomplished at Kansas State. He's never started 4-0. So they'd love to change that, but the schedule is very tricky. It's not going to be easy for him to do it.
If that team were to start 4-0, do you think they have enough to get through the rest of the schedule and make that run at the college football playoff? You were close last year. The stretch run kind of hurt K-State going 1-3 down the final weeks, but you were right there at the beginning of November looking at a potential college football playoff berth.
I mean, yeah, 4-0 would definitely put them within range. Like you said, last year, midway through the season, especially when Kansas State went on the road and beat Colorado, you're thinking, boy, this team could be right in it until the end of the Big 12 championship race. And then it didn't end that way, obviously. But yeah, if they can start 4-0, the beauty of it would be that they would have won 2 of the trickier games in their schedule, and they would already have a win in their pocket, a Big 12 win in their pocket against Iowa State, another contending team. So yeah, it would put them in position. They'd get a bye week, then they host UCF. You think those would be 2 fairly routine weeks. And then after that, I believe they play Baylor, TCU, Kansas, and Texas Tech. That'll kind of decide their fate right there. But yeah, 4-0 start would at least set them up in the conversation. And I mean, they've averaged 9 wins over the last 4 years. They've been to the Big 12 championship game once. They won it against TCU in 2022. They'd love nothing more to get back there. They certainly have a team that could do it. It's just hard in the Big 12 especially when you look at like last year's predictions versus how the schedule ended out. Nobody would have thought Arizona State and BYU would be contenders. And nobody really would have thought Oklahoma State, Utah would be some of the worst teams in the conference. So until you get a little bit better handle on these things, it's hard to predict, but yeah, they could be right there.
What's the one thing you think the coaching staff is worried about facing Iowa State coming into this ball game other than the travel?
I think Iowa State's tight ends just cause people a lot of headaches. And for whatever reason, the last couple of years, Iowa State has gotten the better of Kansas State. They won 4 of 5. Matt Campbell has seemed to have an upper hand on Chris Klieman just in every game. The one thing I tell people is I think it shows just how dominant Iowa State has been in this rivalry is that the one win that Klieman has in that 5-year span was in 2022, and Kansas State won by 1 point. It was 10-9. And Iowa State missed a bowl game that year. So the best team Kansas State has had the last 5 years could only beat the worst team Iowa State's had the last 5 years by 1 point. For whatever reason, it's not an easy matchup for Kansas State. And I think tight ends is a big reason why. Last year, they had those really good wide receivers. They threw the ball to them. This year, it's going to be different when they replace those guys. I think they're going to lean a lot more on their tight ends. They're going to have a lot of misdirection. It's going to keep Kansas State's defense on their toes. And, yeah, that to me, I think is one of the more interesting phases of this game is can they figure out how to contain them? And yeah, I think that'll be a big factor.
Kellis Robinett, he is the beat writer for Kansas State football for both the Wichita Eagle and Kansas City Star. Give him a like on social media. Follow him along if you're a K-State fan and you want to get to know more about this team. He's got all the inside knowledge and the inside scoop. Kellis, thank you so much for taking some time out and joining us and talking about K-State. Enjoy Ireland and this weekend's ball game.
Absolutely. Thanks a bunch.
We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be right back on Sports IQ after this.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you're making the same or less money. So what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. 800-507-7293. That's 800-507-7293.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
By the way, did you guys see Rich Eisen on SportsCenter, what they did with that, the old-fashioned montage back when, remember when SportsCenter used to actually show highlights of games? Yeah, it was pretty cool. Great flashback for me personally. He said it had been 22 years since he'd done that. Reminded me of the old CNN Sports days back when the anchor, you would walk in and you had an editor, highlight supervisor who was in charge of logging all the great plays. Everyone watching games would tell you all the crazy video, whatever. You try to, put that into your montage. So great memories there. Nice tribute as well to the late Stuart Scott. And I don't know if I've shared this with you or not, my Stuart Scott story. Stu and I go back to the early 90s. 1992, 93, he was at the NBC affiliate WESH, WESH in Orlando. I was at the NBC affiliate in West Palm Beach, WPTV, both NBC stations. And back then, to share video, you had national feeds. This is long before, now it's all digital and it's just, comes to an email or something. But back then, you actually had satellites. You did put video up on the satellite. So there's something that he had, I needed, or vice versa. We were always calling each other, requesting video, right, from different places. And Susie Colbert was, we both were weekend anchors, me in West Palm Beach and Stuart in Orlando, and kind of the number two guys in our department. Young guys coming up. Stu's a few years older than I was. But Susie Colbert was the weekend sports anchor at the CBS station in West Palm Beach. And ESPN had just launched ESPN2, and they were about to start a new show called Sports Night, which was going to be like the ESPN2 version of SportsCenter. And Keith Olbermann was leaving his tag team partner, Dan Patrick, on SportsCenter, going to come over and be the lead on this. Susie was already been hired away from WPEC in West Palm Beach to join him. And they're looking for kind of a third anchor, like a newsreader. And so like Susie's going away party, she pulls me aside and begins lobbying me to come up to ESPN. They know about you and they're they like your work, but the word on the street is you're a CNN guy. And I said, yeah, I talked to CNN. I'm in conversation with them. I kind of want to see where that goes. I really don't have a desire at this moment to go up to Connecticut. And so there it was. I never pursued it. Not that I would have gotten the job anyway, but that was the job that wound up going to Stuart Scott. And the rest is history. So you're welcome. Anyway, what are you going to do? But anyway, great. Very cool what ESPN's doing. I love just the nostalgia of that. And great to see Rich there on the desk. Some stories to get to. The agent for the Colts quarterback, Anthony Richardson, says the future is uncertain after former Giants QB Daniel Jones was named the starting quarterback. Richardson has been QB1 in Indy since being the number 4 overall pick back in 2023. Jones coming over from New York in the offseason on a 1-year, $14 million deal. College football news, Notre Dame will have redshirt freshman quarterback C.J. Carr under center for their season opener at Miami next week. Carr is the grandson of former Michigan head coach Lloyd Carr, who won a natty with the Wolverines back in the 90s. Little NBA news for you. John Wall retiring. The 2010 number 1 overall pick was a 5-time All-Star, 11-season career, primarily with Washington. He last played with the Clippers 2 years ago. Rory McIlroy admits that he bought 1,100 pin flags from the Masters Golf Shop after winning the year's first major back in April. That completed his career Grand Slam. McIlroy says that he can't wait to sign every single one of them. It's tradition that the champion can sign inside the logo. It's kind of what you do. Rory also has a green jacket as part of winning the Masters, and he says he's worn it, but not as much as he thought that he would. But it's there in his closet where he can see it and keep tabs on it, if you will. But just a funny story, Rory McIlroy. WNBA, last night, A'ja Wilson did it again. 32 points, 12 rebounds, 5 blocks to lead Las Vegas over Atlanta, 74-72. They now won 8 in a row. They are on fire. For Wilson, her third straight 30-point game, and it's a WNBA record third career game with at least 30 points, at least 10 rebounds, and at least 5 blocks. A'ja Wilson now also the youngest and fastest to reach 2,000 field goals. Look out for the Aces. Boy, they really struggled in the first half of the season. they have turned it on, and they're looking really good right now as they are streaking their way up the standings. Jonquel Jones and Sabrina Ionescu, each with a double-double as defending champ Liberty avoided the season sweep by Minnesota, 85-75, this game played in New York. This is when, the Lynx had won the first three meetings in the rematch of last year's finals. That was won by New York in overtime in Game 5. No Brianna Stewart in this one again from New York. No Nafisa Collier from Minnesota. And by the way, the Lynx with a very busy week. They're at Atlanta Thursday and then at Indiana Friday night on Ion. Rematch of the Commissioner's Cup that was won back on June 1st by the Fever. Will Caitlin Clark play? She has not. She's been out since June 16th, the second go-around with this groin injury. They really need her, as on Tuesday, the Fever announced that Sophie Cunningham is out with a knee injury as well. So a third guard right now, Cunningham, McDonald, and Colson, all three being lost in the last week with knee injuries. Boy, just a tough road to hoe right now for Indiana. See if they can get Caitlin back. That would be fantastic. Angel Reese returned after a 7-game absence with a back injury, 19 points, but Chicago loses again to Seattle, 94-88. Boy, it's just not very good. Sky just really struggling this year. Seattle rookie Dominique Malonga, by the way, the first in WNBA history to get 100 field goals before the age of 20. She continues to just really impress up there in Seattle. Also, Phoenix defeating Golden State 98-91. Alyssa Thomas, the MVP candidate, just missing another triple-double, 13 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists in the Mercury's win. Okay, keep it here. Quick timeout, and producer Tony is with Jordan Foote talking Kansas City Chiefs here on the Sports IQ.
Are you tired of your website making your business look bad? Is your current web developer dropping the ball? Let's face it, if your website isn't making you money, it's broken. Let Neon Rain create a website that turns your visitors into customers. Neon Rain has worked with hundreds of businesses across North America, building custom websites and applications with modern designs that are easy to update and work well on mobile devices. They can do it for you too. What sets Neon Rain apart? They actually deliver on their promises. Call today for a free consultation, 303-957-3092. That's Neon Rain at 303-957-3092. Or visit them at neonrain.com.
Fans of big sports radio and sports spectacular podcasts have a new home on the Chief Sports Network. Find your favorite programs and content all in one place by downloading the Chief Sports app in your mobile device. Created in South Carolina, the Chief Sports Network is the home of an expanding network of live and podcast format programming. It is also the home of one of the leading national college football podcasts, JC and Morgan, hosted by ESPN's Mike Morgan and 24/7 Sports' JC Sherbert. Download the Chief Sports app for free and find all of your favorite programming under one easy umbrella. Thanks to all of our markets for your loyal support of Big Sports Radio and our Sports Spectacular podcast, and we look forward to connecting with you anywhere in the world on the Chief Sports app.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Okay, welcome back here to the Sports IQ. Let's continue the conversation. Producer Tony is with our next guest.
Well, Larry, thanks so much. And we are going to take a little time here to dive into a little NFL action. We're talking a lot of college football this week. Let's talk a little NFL action. And we're lucky enough to be joined by Jordan Foote. He is the Kansas City Chiefs writer for Heavy.com. Jordan, thanks so much for taking some time and joining us today.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chop it up and embark on another NFL journey.
Yeah, it should be an interesting season. You know, the Chiefs have been the model franchise, right? The last decade. They've been what everybody's been chasing. Things didn't go so well in the Super Bowl, but a lot of that can be pinpointed to one specific area, and that was the offensive line. Have they done enough, do you think, this offseason to address that concern and make that unit a little stronger?
I think yes and no. I do think that the left tackle position specifically is definitely going to be better. They're better insulated. First of all, they got Jalen Moore from the San Francisco 49ers in free agency, and he's kind of in that gray area of a very, very highly paid backup swing tackle as opposed to a low paid starter. And back then when they signed him, everyone thought the plan was, okay, they got their guy and they can be okay, serviceable, fine at left tackle. Then they luck into Josh Simmons being there at 31 overall. They trade back to 32, still get him. Simmons has looked really good. And I'm the president of the let's calm down on the hype train club, because I think we oftentimes set players up for failure almost when we put these high expectations on them. But man, I'll tell you, Tony, he looks really good. So left tackle, not really worried. Now, they did trade left guard Joe Thuney to the Chicago Bears, and it's hard to replace an all-pro. So they're going with Kingsley Suamataia, who they drafted in the second round last year, did not work out at left tackle. They're hoping it can work at guard. I'm not too high on those prospects, but I think overall it'll come out in the wash, as they say, and they'll be a better offensive line than they were.
Yeah, because you can kind of, if you take a guard and you've got four other pretty good pieces around him, and look, if you can tackle him, put him between Simmons at the tackle, Creed Humphrey in the middle, you can kind of protect a player, and maybe he grows into that position as the season goes along, because he might gain some confidence not being on that island, right?
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And the Chiefs last year, they only gave him 2 games at left tackle, and I was really shocked by all offseason, the organization saying it, the fans saying it, media saying it. Okay, this guy didn't take many true pass sets at BYU. Like, yes, he is an NFL ready athlete, but he wasn't an NFL ready player. And then, surprise, surprise, he showed it against Trey Hendrickson in week 2 and got baptized by fire by him. They kind of pulled the plug. It's still early in his development. And I think that had he not even played last season at all, people wouldn't have these low expectations for him. It kind of did him a disservice. But like you said, you're surrounded by 2 good players. You're going to look a lot better, and you're operating less in space at left guard. So I'm not too worried about it, but I am intrigued, to say the least.
And obviously, the Chiefs, everything begins and ends basically with number 15.
Yeah.
Keep him healthy, keep him upright. Good things are going to happen, basically.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And we've seen, we've heard and seen Patrick Mahomes has fallen off. Oh, he's not the best quarterback in the NFL. I've tweeted, if you have Josh Allen as QB1A, I'm not going to call you crazy. Do I personally have it? No, but he has won the MVP. He is great. But Mahomes, he didn't forget how to play football, right? His circumstances, the wide receivers were banged up last year. Travis Kelce in 2025 is no longer Travis Kelce of 2021. They don't have Tyreek Hill, so a lot of factors. You can carry a franchise as far as you can with that talent, but we've even seen with Aaron Rodgers a decade ago, got to 1 Super Bowl, never got back. You need more than that to win championships, and Mahomes is still as good as they come.
And that's the key about the Chiefs, right? The franchise seems solid from the top on down. From the general manager, there's not a lot of turnover. Andy Reid's been there for a while now. The assistants are stable. Everything's stable. So the front office is key, right? You've got to maintain that stability, especially in the NFL, where change happens almost weekly.
Yeah, that continuity, from Clark Hunt, the owner, to Brett Veach, the GM, the staff that he has had, and then Andy Reid, and keeping guys like Steve Spagnuolo a defensive coordinator. There is it's sometimes immeasurable. You can't quantify it, but the value in going to work every day, knowing that the people you work with are bought in, knowing that you share the same mission, not having to adjust to a whole different group of guys and gals every year, I think helps. So on top of having Patrick Mahomes, having Chris Jones, having Travis Kelce, having Creed Humphrey, all the help there, they are able to really just be an awesome team. And I think have that continuity from top to bottom that helps a lot.
Now, you talked about the receiver room being kind of banged up. They're a little more healthy this year. What's it going to take to get back some explosiveness on that offense? Because last year, the Chiefs were one of the poorest teams as far as being able to throw it downfield, being able to have those explosive plays on offense. Can they get back to some of that? Because a lot of that opens up other parts of the offense if you can stretch that defense, right?
Yeah, the Chiefs had the holy trinity, or I guess really the 3-headed monster of things that could go wrong for the explosive pass game that did. Mahomes wasn't quite himself sometimes. He wasn't as accurate as he usually is, but he's got his left tackle in his lap half the time. He's got a rookie wide receiver that's his wide out one because he took out Rashee Rice on a friendly fire tackle attempt. Like Hollywood Brown got hurt in the preseason opener. All of that converged into, okay, him and Xavier Worthy didn't have the in sync, level that people thought. Travis Kelce's no longer the vertical threat that he once was. This year, Brown's already been banged up in training camp, so he's back at practice. I think that he's going to ultimately be fine, but you get Rice for however many games that's going to be, barring the suspension. You get Kelce rejuvenated. Looks like he's lost a little bit of weight. I don't know if this is it for him, but if it is, he will probably go out with a bang. And then you get Xavier Worthy, who I think was quietly really good down the stretch of last season and then had an awesome Super Bowl. Like, you're going to have that plus the quarterback being as laser focused, I think, as he's ever been, plus the left tackle spot. There is a reason to assume that it's not going to be a Tyreek Hill level offense, but it's going to be definitely, I'd say, a top 10 one in football.
And considering, that they were in every game last season except for that Super Bowl, if they get a little more offense and the defense stays consistent the way it has been the last few years, to me, you pencil in the Chiefs as the winner of the West.
Yep.
Maybe the Broncos make a run, maybe not. Sometimes second year can be tough on a starting quarterback, but they still, to me, are the class of the West and one of the 2 or 3 teams in the AFC that you pencil in for the Super Bowl.
It's insane. Like, every year Patrick Mahomes has started a game, and I keep telling people, like, eventually this is not going to happen, and we have to brace for it as media, as fans, as people just follow the team. Eventually they will not get to, at worst, overtime of the AFC title game, because they lost that to Buffalo. They lost it to New England back when Brady was there. Every year, though, they get to the AFC title game, they get to the Super Bowl, they do this. Like, one year, Allen is going to get one, or Lamar is finally going to exercise his playoff demons, or I guess Joe Burrow could have luck with the organization he's in. They need a lot of help, I think, to get there. But man, there's eventually going to be somebody else. But again, a team that got blown out in the Super Bowl, I think, answered a couple of their biggest questions, and they're healthy, they're focused. They had a little bit of, I think, rest, so to speak, during the offseason. They still worked the same amount of days, but I think we're a lot more cognizant of how many extra games they have on their bodies. So it's hard to not expect, like you said, the top 2 or 3 teams are going to be in the mix, whether the results end up showing that or not.
When you look back at last season, did the whole Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing, did it kind of wear on them after a while? Did it cause some distraction? I don't think it caused any friction in the clubhouse. They seem like a team that is very together as a unit. But did the distractions kind of wear on them a little bit, do you think?
I don't think per se. Now, do I think that Travis Kelce was the most optimized version of himself last year? I don't think so. And that's not, an attack on Kelce. But when you have an older player, he's going to be 36 in October. So he was 35 last October. Was banged up the year before, a little bit banged up with nagging stuff throughout the year. You add on the travel that he had throughout the season, and it's just something that people go through. And Andy Reid has said it, over time, you find that person, and that's as high profile of a person as you can have in your life. So he still is managing it super well. I think, like, the Chiefs are as well insulated for something like that as any organization, but also the Swifties are just a different breed, and the headlines write themselves. So a lot of that's probably just the media attention that it gets.
When you look at Andy Reid, what makes him so special? The guy did nothing but win at Philadelphia, could never get over the hump. But still, at that point, he'd taken the Eagles places they'd never been before. And now in Kansas City, he's taken the Chiefs to places they've never been before. What separates him, in your mind, as a coach in this league?
His consistency in how he approaches different people. And we've made the joke in Kansas City of, like, the player that needs a career resurrection from something off the field, on the field that didn't work out, whatever the reason is. Andy Reid has that guy, pegged as his next player that he's going to pick up. And, oftentimes he will give that player a chance. And we've seen it, whether you're aging or had something off the field, or your scheme wasn't a good fit, or your skill set wasn't fitting with the team. Like, Andy Reid will say, hey, come on in and we'll find use for you. And, like, he's very consistent in how he's willing to, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. very adaptable and willing to adjust, but he's remarkably consistent in how he approaches people, how coachable he makes players. He's a player's coach to a fault, I think, sometimes, but now he doesn't have that downside in Kansas City because he has the talent to match it. And like the whole rigmarole and the narrative for so long was, okay, Andy Reid can't do it with Donovan McNabb. Like, okay, a lot of coaches can't do it with a good but not quite elite quarterback, and you have the perfect marriage between him and Mahomes. You get a good GM, one of the best tight ends ever. Like, it's a perfect storm, and I think that the consistency and leadership he brings, whether his schematics speak for themselves, he's a great innovative offensive mind, but the person oftentimes rises above that, and I think that it's something that you can't harp on enough.
The Chiefs recently locked up George Karlaftis in an extension deal. How does the defense look? Will they be able to get enough pressure on the quarterback with Jones and Karlaftis? And, can they repeat those same statistical numbers as last season? Because last season, look, that defense, despite what happened in the Super Bowl, because a lot of times the offense put them in bad situations in that game, they were one of the best units in the entire league.
Yeah, the defense is definitely intriguing. Like, despite the offense projecting to be a lot better, I'm far more interested in how the defense does it. And Steve Spagnuolo's legacy, and I was talking with a colleague about this the other day. The Super Bowls are great, but then you look at some of the rankings he's had, and you're like, how is this guy producing these results? Like, he's led some really, really bad defenses. The Chiefs defense, year in and year out, has like a feeling out period, it seems, from week 1 to 10. And then you split it up and say, oh man, the Chiefs defense by playoff time, one of the best in football. And Spags is a relentless blitzer. Like, I think the pressure is not going to be a big problem, even though Chris Jones showed a very, very slight father time aspect last year. Like, I am interested to see how he holds up throughout this year. But you're getting Mike Dana back healthy. You're getting Charles Omenihu back healthy. You're getting George Karlaftis back fresh off an extension. They should be healthier and more consistent along the defensive line, but losing Justin Reid at safety was kind of the heart and soul of the back end. I'm interested to see what they do there. And then really how they handle cornerback. And if that was one position on this team outside of maybe running back that kind of has me puzzled or just interested. We know what Trent McDuffie is, right? Like, he's a fantastic player. Jalen Watson had a really, really good stretch last year and then got hurt and came back. And you're like, okay, maybe that was fool's gold with the sample size. And then they signed Christian Fulton, and he didn't practice for 3-4 weeks because he was already hurt. So the talent on paper, I think the defense can still be good. I do trust that Steve Spagnuolo is going to be leading the way as good as he ever does. But a couple question marks that I think could swing the outcome of the season.
For fans out there that are listening to this and watching, give them a sense of the Chiefs are still going to be the Chiefs if this and this happens in the first few weeks of the season. We'll get a good read on them by week 3 or 4 if this and this happens. What would those thises be?
Got to be left tackle and wide receiver, I think. And pending Rashee Rice's timeline of the suspension, it looks like he's going to be on the field for the first few weeks. So there's going to be an adjustment period once he comes back. I'm assuming that does get handed down from the NFL, but you're going to know early on, I have a feeling at least, what the Chiefs offense is going to be. There isn't going to be a slow build, kind of like the defense has. I think if they come out firing, the Chiefs are going to be back. If they don't, then you're going to have to grind it out again. And like you mentioned earlier, Tony, a bunch of one-score games, a lot of close contests, a lot of third down, fourth down heroics, a lot of red zone plays from Mahomes. Like, it is a very risky way to play, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if they lost some of those this year, and if the Chiefs, quote unquote, stumbled to 11 or 12 wins, and everyone says, oh man, like, I'm out on the Chiefs, they're not going to do it. And then they're the best situational team in the NFL. They're the best prepared team. Like, all of the margins they win on. And I think if they continue to do that out of the gate, that you can't count those guys out.
Jordan Foote, he is the Kansas City Chiefs beat writer for Heavy.com. Take a look at the site. Give him a follow. Follow him on social media, especially if you're a Chiefs fan. You'll get some knowledge every day of the week. He'll have something new and fresh for you, and you'll really enjoy it if you're a Chiefs fan. Jordan, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and joining us on Sports IQ.
Likewise. Thanks a lot.
We will be right back after we take a quick timeout.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back. But you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no upfront costs, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now. 800-215-0341. 800-215-0341. 800-215-0341. That's 800-215-0341.
As we've done here all month, we're counting down our preseason college football top 25 as presented by producer Tony. Tony's done a lot of work on this, and boy, it's been a fun conversation each day going through. Let's climb two more slots up the ladder, if you will. Number 11, who you got?
Yep, Larry, you're right. At number 11, going with the Florida Gators. You know, last year at this time, Billy Napier's seat was hotter than a frog's behind on Arizona concrete. His seat was so hot that he had to wear asbestos underwear to training camp. Then he did the worst thing possible. He lost 2 of his first 3 games, with both losses happening in the swamp. And a lot of people were like, that's it, this is over. He might be lucky to make it to October. Well, and that was before Florida had to face 5 ranked teams in 6 weeks, including 3 in the top 10. The Gators managed to go 3-3 in that stretch. They finished the regular season on a 3-game winning streak, then won their bowl game. So they've won 4 in a row coming into this season. Suddenly Napier was safe. Now things are looking like he could be in Gainesville for a while. You know, they got a great freshman class coming in, but it really all starts with DJ Lagway. He was the force behind that strong finish. He hopes to build on that in this year. He has been dealing with a calf injury, which calf injuries these days are pretty scary. You know, you worry about Achilles injuries. He missed most of camp. But on Monday, he took part in 11-on-11 drills for the first time. The schedule is still daunting. I mean, the schedule makers do not like Florida or Billy Napier. You know, they get 2 easy games to start, but then they have to go to LSU, a team they upset last year, 27-16. That starts a baton-style march for the Gators. From September 13th to October 11th, the Gators are at LSU, at Miami, home for Texas, then at Texas A&M. That's brutal. I don't care how you slice it. Then you come back in November, and they've got 3 ranked opponents starting with Georgia, then an easier game with Kentucky, still not a gimme. Kentucky's a good team. Then Ole Miss and Tennessee. You know, for most teams, you're looking at 6-6. But there is something special happening with Napier and this team. I can't really put a finger on it, but I just think something is brewing. And I think the Gators are going to be in the playoff conversation this season. Call me crazy, but remember this conversation if they make the playoff.
Yeah, Florida Gators, what a job that Billy Napier has done. As you said, we've looked, and, you know, he did not think he'd get out of season 2, but here he is right now. You've got him at 11 this coming year. Let's go to now the top 10, and who do you have at number 10 in the country?
Yep, Larry, coming in at number 10 is going to be the Fighting Illini. And you know what? They have a chance to make their first appearance in school history in the college football playoff. You know, coaching, we've talked about it all throughout this countdown, but coaching is so key in college football. And Brett Bielema is a good coach. He's shown that over his career. He can build a staff, and then he gets the most out of the players that he has. He did it at Wisconsin, struggled a little bit at Arkansas, but, you know, I don't think he had a lot of help going on down there. He doesn't get a lot of 4- and 5-star talent, but the talent he gets them to play like they are 4- and 5-star talent. You know, last year, Illinois won 10 games for the first time since 2001. This is a school that has never, ever, 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 never had back-to-back 10-win football seasons. This is the year that changes. They've got a veteran offense, third-year starter Luke Altmaier. How good is Altmaier, Larry? Well, 2 schools in the SEC tried to get Altmaier to enter the transfer portal and go to their schools because they had quarterback issues. That'll tell you how good this kid is. If they can replace some of what they lost on the outside in Pat Bryant and Zachary Franklin, this group could really be special. They're going to be strong up front, and they're going to be able to run the ball. Gabe Akis is a monster at linebacker. He should improve on the 8 sacks he had last year. And the defensive backfield might be one of the best in the country. Xavier Scott is a safety. He is a big-time ball hawk. Look for him to be playing on Sundays in the very near future. The schedule is very favorable for Bielema. As of this writing, they really only have 2 ranked teams on the schedule: Indiana on the road and Ohio State at home. What do you think? Would Billy Napier trade schedules with Illinois? I think he might in a heartbeat. If they can win the games they should, and most of them they're going to be favored in, and at worst split with Indiana and Ohio State, then that's 11 wins in my book, and that's a college football playoff berth. And that is what I think Illinois is going to do this year.
Yeah, the Illini. Bringing back more stars than anybody in the Big Ten. It could be their year. And you can't say that very often, like you said about Illinois. But Brett Bielema, year 5 right now in Champaign, has got things rolling there. We saw him achieve some great success in Wisconsin, spent some time at Arkansas. Like I said, with the Giants, with Bill Belichick, and so now we'll see what he's got here in 2025. Could be fun times. They just sold out season tickets yesterday. I got an email about that. Saw that. So, hey, that does it for today for this show. We appreciate our guests stopping by. As always, Kellis Robinett and Jordan Foote as well. We appreciate you. It's a Wednesday. Make it a great day. So much fun coming up here and things to talk about as we get into the weekend. The first weekend, week 0 of the college football season. We'll talk more about that coming up tomorrow. It's a Sports IQ. I'm Larry Smith. Make it a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at SportsIQ LS. We'll see you next time.